Hello everyone and welcome back on this rather chilly March spring morning. I'm going to show you a little bit of what's going on in my veggie patch or kitchen garden, and then show you how I am using straining wires and turnbuckles to grow my Caraca Black blackberries against over there, some posts I put up, and then I'll take you to the allotment. This is a turnbuckle. A lot of you will be familiar with this, but people like me who are scared silly of anything that looks a bit technical will avoid it like the plague. But all it is something, a mechanism to strain a wire. You can put this on a hook in a little vine eye that's attached to a post, and this attached to the wire, and then you turn this to tighten up the wire, and that's all it is. I've just started to put up some posts, and the job is only just beginning because it's taking time, and this is March and there are so many things to do, but I'll show you what I'm doing very briefly and then show you what's happening on my veggie patch or kitchen garden. And on this post I have 3 vine eyes, one at 18 inches or 40 centimeters, the other at another 2 feet, and the third one again at 2 feet or 60 centimeters. And I've done that because I read somewhere that that's what you should do, but it does seem as if maybe 4 lots of vine eyes and 4 lots of straining wires would have been better. Over here is the turnbuckle in detail. So there's a vine eye attached to there. That's where you will tighten it up, and that's attached to the other side. This is just temporary. I will be tightening this up later on. As you can see, that this wire is not very straight, but when I took it out of the little I don't know what you call it, sort of twisty thing, this here, it is so in such small little circles that it's taken quite a long time to straighten out. What I did here was to put a hole through here rather than another vine eye, and then take the wire all the way to the end. And to make that hole, something new to me is this drill bit, which is either called a spade drill bit or a flat wood bit, but that's, as I say, all new to me. And then as we come down to this side here, eventually this is where I'll put the final vine eye, but at the moment I'm just tightening it round the post, and as it straightens out I'll tighten it even more. So this then is the final planting of the bed. There are 2 Caraca Black blackberries. There's the seedling and there's the mother plant, and then down in the bottom I've got the American land cress that I took from pots, which weren't doing too well right in the winter, but now they're coming back again. They used to seed in this area quite freely before, and what I tend to forget with biennials is to keep them going, and if you don't make sure the seedlings are looked after, they tend to die off. And I've done that with Echium vulgare as well, that's Viper's bugloss. Anyway, back to these plants. The Caraca Black blackberries won't do too well this year because I neglected them as well, and I'm just hoping that if I feed them well enough that we'll get lots of nice little branches coming out that I can tie in, and then next year we'll have some lovely juicy berries. You know, not everyone uses these turnbuckles. You can just put the wire and turn it through the vine eye and twist it round there, or you can just, some people I know have put it through in some kind of screw and put something at the end to hold a screw. And I did ask someone on the plot, just one person I know who uses them, and she said her husband put them in about 10 years ago, and she's never had any reason to use them and to tighten them up, so there goes all my hard work. Anyway, I'll put that piece of wood there, probably put a longer piece of wood there, and then cut it at an angle and put a screw or a nail in to make sure that the straining wires don't pull these posts too far in. I don't know if it's necessary, but that's what I've seen people do. And over here are the comfrey plants coming up. And if I switch all the way over to here, they're the strawberries doing quite well. And I put the net back up again. And quite a few strawberries flowered and started to fruit at the end of January, which is really weird. And of course, they all got blackened, which always happens when the frost or the snow comes. And just to show you exactly what's going on at the start of this gardening season in my little back garden, and there is the opal plum tree, and there I started feeding the goldfinches with Niger seeds, And it's so lovely to see those tiny little birds with red, black and white heads sitting on there. And as we come down, there are the two Ben Lomond and Ben Sarek black currants. When I planted them about 15 years ago, I didn't realise they shouldn't be planted so close together, but they'll just have to stay there. And there is the lovely Big Ben black currant, which is very small and just a cutting taken from Big Ben on my allotment. And I'm not expecting much from that. And yes, it's planted too closely again, but now I know I don't have enough space, so that's why things get planted closely. And in the front, if I move back a bit, are the three rhubarbs. That one's being protected a bit because a little foxy has has it in for it, and it keeps digging it up. And that is the Timperley Early, which is coming up quite well. And then there's the Champagne, which is doing quite well, which I had moved out from there to there, so I'm pleased it hasn't affected it in any way. And there is the Early Red. Over there as well I'll have all the potatoes, and I think there will be room for a couple of tubs of carrots. And there in the middle are my sets of onions hardening off. So yes, I did kill off the onion seedlings again, and I'm not going to talk about it, quite possibly because the fluctuating temperatures on the windowsill doesn't suit them, and I'm sure someone else somewhere else is going to say, well, I have no problems, and I'm so pleased for them. But anyway, I've got two cloches which I put over them during the night, and maybe I grew them too early, and I've been trying to hold back their growth by hardening them off, but they seem to be romping away, and they'll be going out in a couple of days on the allotment. Over there is the plum tree, the Victoria plum tree, and there are my three Taunton Dean perennial kale, which took quite a beating in the winter. And as you can see, those leaves over there, all the big leaves, I've taken most of them off. I've just left those on to show you how badly they were affected, and all this was drooping and I didn't think it would recover, but they're looking beautiful now, and I'll just take those leaves off now that I've shown them to you. So I fed these with a nitrogenous mixture, and I fed most of my plants now with a nitrogenous mixture based on well-rotted manure and nettles, which I'm running out of now, and I'll be making some more soon. And these plants I brought out quite briefly, and when I've just filmed this I'll be putting them back indoors. And these are my spring onions, which again, like most of my onions, don't look too well indoors. But once these have been hardened off and planted after a couple of weeks, they straighten up, so I'm not too bothered about them. At the back there is the Brussels sprouts called Brody F1 hybrid, and here Brody, which I'm trying for the first time, so I'm looking forward to much better Brussels sprouts this year. And on this side I've got just one different Brussels sprout here called Darkmoor, which I got free seed for, and I've no idea what that's going to be like. I'm also trying to grow kohlrabi for the first time, so I've got a pale green one here called Luna, and then a purple one there, and over there Azure Star, which is also purple. So I really hope I like this vegetable, because I think I'm going to have a lot of it. And finally I have my Charlotte potatoes sprutting there, and they'll be going in soon. The potatoes that I saved did not do very well because last year wasn't a very good year for me. I couldn't get hold of well-rotted manure, so I used a lot of garden compost, rotted down garden compost, but it just wasn't as good. And this year I paid money for 2 bags of well-rotted manure, and I'll see how that goes. And here is a Tesco plant, rosemary, for only £1.25, which I think is excellent, because I looked at it at B&Q and it's about £3 something, same size, and at a garden centre it was £3.99, so that is very good value. And over there are some flowers that I'm trying to grow called hyssop. Now hyssop can be 2 plants, it could be hyssop, or it could be hyssop agastache, or this is hyssop. And it should be a little shrubby plant which is good for the bees, and I'm still trying to learn about all the new flowers I can grow that will help the bees come into my garden and allotment. I'm on plot 1 and I'm talking today about paths. Exciting, eh? When I first came about 3 years ago, I started doing these paths which were already here, and I put down some water permeable membrane, and on top of that I put some shredded bark that had been supplied by the council. What a mistake, because now I'll show you in close-up. The weeds have come through the plastic, and the shredded bark, as usual, gets rotted away, which is fine. And so I have to take all this stuff out at some point soon. But today I'm going to start on an absolutely clean path in a slightly different way. And this is a path I'm going to start on between the brassicas, the purple sprouting broccoli, and the black currants. And to that end, if I just come over here, I'm going to put down lots of paper. There are these freebie newspapers that I've been saving up, and also a whole lot of gardening magazines that I used to give to the doctor's surgery, but now with COVID they can't take it anymore, and a bit of cardboard. And the weeds will eventually come through, but then I'll just roll it all over and put it in the compost bin. No more plastic. And there's the paper and magazines laid down. Obviously you don't have to do this, you can put shredded bark directly onto the ground, but this is my way of recycling paper because I've used up so much in my compost bins with the green stuff that I've just got bags left over. And this is the final job, and I have been stamping it down, walking on it to tamp it down a bit. The foxes will no doubt dig it up a little bit as it's new to them, and eventually the worms will start to come through at the sides there, and the foxes will eat those and we'll push this apart, and all we have to do is kick it back again. As you can see from the sides, I have these really aren't very good raised beds, and I need at some point to replace them when I can acquire enough wood. Over here is where I got the shredded bark from. It's this is not an ad for Asda's, but it is Asda's 3 for 10. It might not be the best quality, that's 60 litres, but it does the job, and I'll be buying some more and doing some more paths later on. And on this bed I had all those weeds in between the strawberry plants, and they all had to come up. And you can see the levels down there is how much soil you use and how important it is to keep topping up your raised beds with well-rotted matter of some kind, bulky organic matter of some kind. On this side I started to fill it up with the rotted bark, which actually makes wonderful mulch, but this and the cardboard doesn't have a lot of nutrients, so I'll be adding some well-rotted manure and some, I've got buckets there of spent compost from pots of potatoes and pots of carrots, and that will all be added here, and then I'll be growing something else here. As you can see, I really have to get some more wood here. It's rotten and come apart, and what I have noticed in this bed and in some other beds when people have raised beds is that they have the level on the inside is the same as the outside, so it's losing some of its advantages of good drainage. So again, it's important to keep these levels of soil up. And these are the strawberries, and I have fed them with my special nettle liquid manure, and that will get the leaves going hopefully, and in a couple of weeks I'll be feeding them with comfrey. And I'm just showing off my lovely paths. And then there's the cottager's kale. And if we come in this way, I've actually got some purple sprouting broccoli at last. And that's gorgeous. First time I've grown it, and I will be harvesting that today. But it's the only one, and there's nothing else to be seen there. Well, the snowdrops are over, and the beautiful hellebores, the doubles there and the singles there, have come into flower. And over there you can just see the red of the little shoots of the peonies. And now that spring has well and truly started, though it's a bit chilly today, now starts the incredibly busy time of lots of seed sowing and pricking out and planting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please comment and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.